show is starting.
I feel the liftoff. The clock has started. Roger.
Due to its unpredictable nature, the Ask Dr. Hal Show Home Edition is not for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
The finest in underground television.
I learned this poem at the beginning of Trump's first term, but it is still worth recalling. September 1st, 1939, by W.H. Auden. I sit in one of the dives on 52nd Street, uncertain and afraid as the clever hopes expire of a low, dishonest decade. Waves of anger and fear circulate over the bright and darkened lands of the earth, obsessing our private lives. The unspeakable odor of death offends the September night. Accurate scholarship can unearth the whole offense, from Luther until now, that has driven a culture mad. Find what occurred at Linz, what huge imago made a psychopathic God. I and the public know what all school children learn: those to whom evil is done do evil in return. Exiled Thucydides knew all that a speech can say about democracy and what dictators do. The elderly rubbish they talk to an apathetic grave, analyzed all in his book. The Enlightenment, driven away, the habit-forming pain, mismanagement, and grief, we must suffer them all again. Into this neutral air where blind skyscrapers use their full height to proclaim the strength of collective man, each language pours its own competitive excuse. But who can live for long in an apathetic dream? Out of the mirror they stare, imperialism's face and the international wrong. Faces behind the bar cling to their average day. The lights must never go out. The music must always play. All the conventions conspire to make this fort assume the furniture of home, lest we should see where we are, lost in a haunted wood, children afraid of the night who have never been happy or good. The windiest militant trash important persons shout is not so crude as our wish. What Mad Nijinsky wrote about Diaghilev is true of the normal heart, for the error bred in the bone of each woman and each man craves what it cannot have, not universal love, but to be loved alone. From the conservative dark into the ethical life, the dense commuters come, repeating their morning vow. I will be true to the wife. I'll concentrate more on my work. And helpless governors wake to resume their compulsory game. Who can release them now? Who can reach the deaf? Who can speak for the dumb? All I have is a voice to undo the folded lie, the romantic lie in the brain of the sensual man in the street, and the lie of authority whose buildings grope the sky. There is no such thing as the state, and no one exists alone. Hunger allows no choice to the citizen or the police. We must love one another and die. Defenseless under the night, our world in stupor lies. Yet, dotted here and there, ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them of eros and of dust, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame.
Here before you is an opportunity to plumb the depths of the mysteries that confound and intrigue us. A chance to ask the big questions. Dr. Hal is not concerned with questions of trivial matters or of facts that are easily gathered elsewhere. Dr. Hal seeks the questions that transcend fact. He stands before you, ready to take questions that used to be brought to wise and aged sages on distant mountaintops. These questions can now be asked from the comfort of your living room. No Sherpas required. Simply direct your favorite web browser to our new and simple-to-use website, AskDrHalShow.com, or click the Ask Dr. Hal button below our live Twitch broadcast. You will be spirited away to the magical Ko-Fee portal, where all you need do is submit your burning question in the handy message field, and assign a monetary value you wish to place upon it. Our stage ghost will then convey your message live to Dr. Hal, and he will answer in the manner that only Dr. Hal can. Don't worry, we never sell, share, or solicit using your provided email address. PayPal will ensure that your valuable love offering goes directly to Dr. Hal. Links to submit questions and more can be found at our website, AskDrHalShow.com. Do not let this opportunity to consult a modern-day oracle, a seer for seers, a man steeped in the arts, sciences, and esoteric studies, pass you by. We present to you, through the very miracle of the internet itself, the one and only Dr. Hal Robins, now making house calls.
And we are live. Look at that.
Greetings and salutations.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're glad to be back.
Yes, here we remember.
It's just
in
two
November.
of us.
Mm-hmm.
Just two of us this evening, Dr. Hal. Professor Gofflin is off on a special assignment. She is out in the audience, though, this evening, so she's...
Yes, behind the scenes.
Yes, exactly. So she is out there busy answering questions and being cordial to everyone, as is our stage ghost, St. Joyce. They're both out working the audience today.
And we're glad to have them because if anything goes wrong, technically, they often help us pull it back together, as happened last time when we had an unfortunate technical glitch, which probably doesn't need to be mentioned here.
No, I'm actually, that was it was kind of like Apollo 13. It was a successful failure. So
Yes.
there was and
Well, we were able to save the mission, definitely.
yes. The show, when I put everything back together again, you would never know we had anything go wrong with that show whatsoever. It was nearly a technically perfect show, except for, well, our friends providing internet services. And of course, we know that the following day, everything went to hell in a handbasket.
A little preview of that, although I thought perhaps it was some chaos from the Japanese horror movie leaking into our presentation.
It's
Everything was
kaiju.
going haywire. The piano was eating the girl alive, and then suddenly, bang, we were blotto. That happens.
See, now you know what kaiju does to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
anyway, we have questions. Would you like a
that's
question?
good. Yes, we need those.
I'm going to start off with a $60 question.
$60.
$60, Dr. Hal.
All right.
That's a
60
number that
bucks.
doesn't leave my lips unless
Must
I'm
be one heck of a question there. I hope I'm equal to it.
Well, and the number 60, it generally doesn't leave my lips unless I'm talking about my age. So it's a pleasure to be using it in a different context.
I would only have to talk of an age I once attained.
Well, yes, time does flow for us all. In any event, this one is from our very good friend. Let me scroll up here. It's from Reverend John Shirley.
Oh, well, he's actually been on this show.
He has, yes. We've had Dr. Shirley on as a guest Did we have him on for 2 shows or was he on for 1? I'm not sure.
I thought it was 2, because I remember using this same picture more than once when I made up the announcement. But I could be wrong about that.
I believe you're correct. Somewhere back in the mists of time. This is our 54th show, Dr. Hal.
54 of these things toddling down the pike.
Anyway, Reverend Shirley's question. Let me scroll back up to it. My question to Dr. Hal is he aware of the argument some scientists give for there being no free will? All is determined from the subatomic level to our choices in the supermarket. And, Dr. Hal, do you feel that we have free will?
Most interesting, Reverend Shirley. Well, I hope that you feel that you have the free will to make artistic decisions and choices when you produce your own art form. No doubt there is something akin to the Akashic records, that is to say, the pattern which distinguishes the development of the universe which contains us. But, of course, the old answer that the medieval schoolman gave to this question is, as long as we don't know ourselves, and this is only in the mind of God, essentially, we do have free will. A snappy arrangement which was set up by God himself so that we could decide whether our souls will flee to bliss or woe when they are sundered from our mortal form. But the entire controversy neglects the current view and indeed finding that there are potential multiple universes for every possible movement of an atom or subatomic development, let alone what an individual might decide to entertain. Indeed, the individual, the thinking being, is more at the mercy of these forces than the random particles which comprise matter under the bombardment of energy. So the answer is both yes and no. Not an indefinite answer, but yes to the fact that we do have essential free will. We are so constructed and configured. Without it, we would not be motivated. So it is an essential parcel of our composition. But in a larger sense, all is determined as long as we are on the same path which we entered when we began our journey, something which may be susceptible to flux of a cosmic nature beyond our understanding and experience. The important thing is to consider the question itself, which, thanks to you, we now have done. And I hope that my answer seems more helpful than political. I'm trying to think of a poem that I have not recited before, and I think I have thought of one, and that would be The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And it goes like this, something like this. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward, the Light Brigade! Charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward, the Light Brigade! Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode, and well, straight through the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, straight through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to left of them, cannon to right of them, cannon behind them volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made! All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade. Noble 600.
Beautiful, Hal. Actually, let me use this screen. There we go.
Oh,
That's the right
yeah.
screen.
Most interesting configuration there.
Yeah, well, I've got buttons all over the place here and a new layout. So God knows what anybody's going to see tonight.
Might as well use them buttons.
Touch them as often as you can. Don't listen to what people tell you. Those buttons are yours to push.
And your lifeline.
I have a question here, Dr. Hal, from another doctor, a very good friend of ours, Dr. Billy. And it is a $15 question. And it is, Dr. Hal, as a master of church secrets, what can you tell us about Bob's mysterious brother, Richard Dick Dobbs?
Well, the difficulty about being the master of church secrets is that one is expected to keep those secrets, to understand them and to rely upon them at certain times. But to give it away entirely would be contrary to the mission. But yes, J.R. Bob Dobbs, according to the legendary and lore which has surrounded him, did have at least one sibling, perhaps even a sister, but we're talking about Richard Dobbs. You'll notice that both of the Dobbs boys had names which began with R. Robert in his case, and Richard in the case of his brother. However, the two are not similar according to that. They are, in fact, wildly divergent, as in the unfortunate fact that Richard, or Dick Dobbs, does not live, or did not live at last notice, a life of slackfulness, but rather negated slack by his pursuit of his own goals, abandoning the path that J.R. Bob Dobbs was set upon after, as all subgeniuses know, he received the divine immaculation, hearing the voice of Jehovah One after receiving a giant shock from messing around with the back of a television set of special design, which he himself invented. Dobbs has epitomized and absorbed the prescriptures, but Dick Dobbs, when he comes in from the cold, still seems to be toiling in the bowels of the conspiracy. Time will tell which of the two siblings has found the ultimate goal, which for them, as well as for many of us, remains the way out. Thank you for your question, and for sending me your recent musical performances also. And
Nice.
you said $15,
Yeah.
did you not?
I did.
So a poem is merited. El Dorado by Edgar Allan Poe. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had risen long, singing a song in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. "Shadow," said he, "where can it be, this land of El Dorado?" "Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride," the shade replied, "if ye would seek El Dorado."
Nice, Hal. So, the time has come for us to show our first monster movie moment, but I did want to take a moment and say, audience, get those questions into Dr. Hal. That's why we call it
Yes,
the
we
Ask
always
Dr.
have to
Hal
say
Show.
that. But while getting the questions in, please attend the Monster Movie Moments, which we think are interesting from all sorts of perspectives, cultural, philosophical, you name it.
Bull-Dada.
Yes, well, that's the purpose of Bulldada, to find the gems in this hay pile or manure pile, as the case may be.
Dr. Hal, I do find that there are some movies that are difficult for me to watch, almost painful. What do you make of that?
What are the sensations that you feel when you watch or try to watch them? Do you feel weariness, as though, I can't go through this? Or do you feel a sense of impatience that this is
Anxiousness.
wasting my time?
Not so much a waste of my time, but it's almost like I feel a pain for the artist that produced that, and it turned out the way it did.
Well, somebody said recently that it's a miracle any good movie ever gets made, considering everything that is against you. But it is the watcher's privilege to follow or not to follow, although you'll always do better if you don't face it antagonistically and demand proof that it is entertaining. That's a sure way to disenfranchise yourself from the bond between creator and user.
I find comedies especially painful. The small
Well,
situation.
especially if they're not funny, that is very wearisome because you think, "Yeah, I'm supposed to be laughing and I'm not even enjoying this."
No, and see, I don't imbibe alcohol, and without it, some of these things I just don't.
Well, of course, alcohol makes everything funny. And in the live nightclub show, we had a bench where these guys would sit called the smoke pot guys. And they would be smoking marijuana, and they were good because they would laugh at anything. And you need people to start the audience laughing. And so even though Chick and John would say things like cancer or something, they'd all go, ah, ha, 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 ha. And thus we were able to propel the show forward with their. Unfortunately, recent intelligence has come to us that they have given up their ways and are now clean and sober. A sad commentary on the current time.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We've lost more and more people.
So it must be.
Well, in any event, we have a monster movie moment, and so audience, get those questions into Dr. Hal. Come on, it's an Ask Dr. Hal question show.
Yes, that's right.
Get
some Ask Dr. Hal answers under your belt.
Don't make us beg like public television. Get those questions in, and here's the first monster movie moment. And we're back.
Yes, I hope that was a blast, a laser blast, that is. Of course, the weapon in question is not a laser operating on light amplification, but consider the name a metaphor.
And I should mention too, when I was speaking about bad film earlier, I wasn't necessarily talking about that movie, which actually has some merits. It's I love the stop motion effects.
Yes, that's certainly the high point of the movie, as stop motion often is. Stop motion, though it races through the camera, is a series of still photographs, every one of which may be artistically composed and conceived, which you can't say for just shooting regular film, at least in most circumstances. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed it.
Remarkable stuff. In any event, we have a video question, Dr. Hal.
All right.
We have not seen one of those for a while. And audience, you know what? You can send those to me. We might even be able to make arrangements, like if you want to record one, let me know. I can work something out with you. Yes. We love video questions, and we love to see what the audience looks like, and it's an opportunity to appear on the show. So, now I'm not sure what this is going to look like because I set it up like at the last minute. So it might take a little setup here, but I'm going to turn it on right now. Here comes the question.
Dr. Hal, this is Reverend Big John, and this is Manny the Mosasaur.
And why am I not seeing it?
Manny's a Mosasaur. He's down south of Dallas where they used to live. And
well, you know, I might have
Manny's. There's not many of them, so he has a question, and he wants to ask a question about Mosasaurs. Okay, ask your question. Oh. Yeah, it's a little bit of an embarrassing question, so I'll ask it for him. Could mosasaurs leave the water, and did they lay eggs?
Yeah, St. Joyce just told me she can hear it.
Yes, and I can hear it too. That's an interesting question. Could mosasaurs leave the water? And did they lay eggs? If they laid eggs, they would have to leave the water. You can't lay eggs in the water. If you spend all your time in the water, you have to give live birth. This was the way ichthyosaurs did it. A side note here is that mosasaurs were a type of large ocean-going reptile that existed in the Mesozoic or Secondary era. Often confused with dinosaurs, they, like ichthyosaurs, are not dinosaurs, but other reptilian creatures. What are they then? Mosasaurs are actually a form of varanid lizard, similar to the Komodo dragon, found on those mysterious eastern islands. The world's largest living lizard, the Varanus komodiensis, actually had a larger ancestor, several times bigger, which paradoxically was hunted back in the day by little tiny men. But that intriguing story doesn't really bear on the answer. However, the varanids, a branch of them, evolved into snakes, our current snakes. Well, then how come the lizards and the snakes are still there, is what anti-evolutionists would say. The emergence of a new form does not mean that the older form may not still exist. One thing which demonstrates this link is that the varanids have a tongue which, like the serpent's tongue, is forked at the end and flickers in and out to capture certain biological signatures which are needed for its survival. Therefore, the mosasaur also, in all probability, had this tongue. If it laid eggs, it was able to propel itself with its flippers briefly onto land, its flippers in its previous lizard stage having been legs. And I think I read something not too long ago which indicated if it wasn't ichthyosaurs, it must have been mosasaurs, did lay eggs. So I'm going to go with that particular answer, although it is speculative. We know that ichthyosaurs gave live birth because we have the fossil of one fossilized in the act of giving birth. But if it's a lizard, it probably lays eggs, and if it lays eggs, it's probably on land. You never know what nature is up to. It comes up with some amazing variations, but as so often with the science of paleontology, the best we can do is an informed guess. I hope that was somewhat helpful.
And Dr. Hal, I should mention that was an $11 question. And if you'll permit me, I did fix it so I can play that question and you can see the video. So if you'll permit me.
Let's see that, and then I'll say a poem. We are usually able to do this, but it's been a while, and so we need to get our muscles back for showing video submissions, which we hope we'll receive more of.
I had him in the wrong layer. So he's getting the right layer now, so I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Here it comes.
Dr. Hal, this is Reverend Big John, and this is Manny the Mosasaur. And Manny's a mosasaur. He's down south of Dallas where they used to live, and there's not many of them, so he has a question, and he wants to ask a question about mosasaurs. Yeah. Okay, ask your question. Oh. Yeah, it's a little bit of an embarrassing question, so I'll ask it for him. Could mosasaurs leave the water, and did they lay eggs?
Well, that's a question of interest, certainly. Dallas was underwater during the Mesozoic when there was a central ocean, which is where the western part of the North American continent is now, all except a small spur sticking out where land-living creatures can be found, and that is the Paluxy River Formation. at Glen Rose, Texas, current home of the Stang Ranch and Ivan Stang. Yes, I'd go for eggs. It's a lot to ask of a lizard to lose its legs to grow 40 feet long and to live in the ocean, and on top of that, to develop a system of live birth seems a lot to ask of it. Lines written above Westminster Bridge by William Wordsworth for no particular reason. Earth hath not anything to show more fair. Dull would he be of soul who could pass by a sight so touching in its majesty. This city now doth like a garment wear the beauty of the morning, silent, bare. Domes, ships, theaters, and temples lie open to the fields and to the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Never did sun more beautifully steep in his first splendor valley, rock, or hill. Ne'er saw I, never felt a calm so deep. The river glideth at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still.
Very good, Hal. Let me see here. I have a question from our very good friend and colleague, Reverend Xenofact.
Oh, great.
And it is a $15 question. And let me go ahead and open it up here. It looks like there's some depth to it.
Right.
Aliens used to be the villains in science fiction, but now are the subject of romance stories, erotic art, and adult fan fiction. How are real aliens reacting to such a change?
Well, Reverend Xenofact, I am not in any communication with the real aliens, at least of which I'm aware, but it is something which speaks better for humanity's willingness to meet with others, that now we consider them in a more loving framework. This has a codicil, which is that people used to feel that they were singled out by angels, fairies, or demons for special treatment. Why? Not because they were particularly special, but because they happened to be in the way or their paths led them that way. At the moment, I am working with a group of younger underground cartoonists, and whenever we produce a mini comic, these cartoonists seem to give me a story to draw where aliens or monsters have explicit carnal relations with women. So this is a subject which is eagerly seized upon, and you've heard the tales from contactees, soi-disant, of being monkeyed with by aliens whose intent is perhaps not strictly scientific. If the aliens exist or are there at all, they probably vary just as humans do, and so would their motives vary. But if they should know that their attentions in this direction were welcome, they might practice more avidly than they do now, if they do now, to have the Congress with the humans, which is either bestiality or some sort of joining augmented by a superior alien technology capable of manipulating genetic information and causing zygote formation in the final considered potential. This is by Robert Frost. I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have walked out the farthest city light. I have walked on the longest city lane. I have stopped by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. And I have stopped to hear the sound of feet when far away a distant cry came over housetops from a distant street, but not to say good night or say goodbye. And far above, at an unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaims the time is neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night.
Beautiful, Hal. So we've reached that point in time where we're coming up on our guest spot, and we've got Rudy Schwartz.
Oh, wonderful!
This evening, yeah, amazing stuff, really good, and video to accompany, which is wonderful. And audience, come on, do your job, get those questions in. $3 to Dr. Hal. Think of the wisdom that you can buy for $3. This is not a mere shaking of a magic 8-ball. This is
it's cheaper than going to Starbucks and getting an expensive sugary coffee.
Right? For the cost of an expensive sugary coffee, you can have an inexpensive dose of bitter wisdom.
Half a cup of bitter coffee, which needs to be augmented with sugar, for $3, unless the going rate is lowered by entrepreneurs.
You find that coffee to be bitter too.
Well, I always put stuff in it. In fact, they don't have enough stuff to satisfy me.
Yeah, there's a bitterness to it that I can't seem to get out with any kind of sweetener. It just sort of...
Maybe they make it over and over again in the same machines and don't get to wash them except every once in a while. But we've all tasted that rusty camp coffee by the campfire and often been happy to get it.
St. Joyce and I often talk about a place that we came across. I want to say it was after an X Day. It was the home of the 5-cent coffee.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
That in small container?
It was easily the worst coffee I have ever drank in my life. It was
terrible.
Oh my God. I would have been better off just opening the creamer and doing straight shots. It was, oh my God, it was obscene. 5-cent coffee.
Now you know.
Don't fall for it.
What is the organization which sells this coffee, this 5-cent coffee?
It was some little diner out in the middle of, cow country. I think it was in
I know how we can get rid of the old dregs of the coffee. We'll sell it for 5 cents.
We'll just keep cooking it until the coffee grounds are white.
Separate the men from the boys here.
Yeah. We'll throw in, a teaspoon every now and again just to, give it a bouquet. Well, anyway, here comes Rudy Schwartz. And audience, do your part. Get those questions into Dr. Hal, and we will read them on the next segment. Here we come. And I think it is.
From the album Better Storage Solutions by Mr. Jerkoff, from the Rudy Schwartz Project.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to be at a loss for words, but the rabbits will never leave my mind. I will see those rabbits they've been imprinted onto the very pupils of my eyes. It's kind of that thing, like when someone's been murdered and, if you look closely at their eyes, you can see the last thing they saw. It's sort of like what those rabbits are.
So they say, yes.
Well, the kinds of things they say.
Yeah.
I have some questions for you, Dr. Hal. And
Let's
actually,
have them.
I have kind of a trick question here, and you don't owe anybody a poem for this, except maybe,
Hmm.
unless you want to thank the gods
Mm-hmm.
for $175 from Gonzotronics. But
Holy cow.
it's money we owed you. But since I had to plug it into Ko-fi to get it into you in a reasonable fashion, I figured I would accompany a question with it. But it is a pertinent question. It is one that is, I'm sure, burning in everyone's mind. So if you're ready,
All right.
I don't even have to look at it. I know what it is. Can you clarify the sentence? Buffalo, 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 buffalo.
Yes, I think I can. This sentence appears in Professor Stephen Pinker's book, The Language Instinct, in which he maintains, and according to some, conclusively demonstrates, that the structure of language, subject and predicate, verb and object, are all things which naturally occur to the human brain and are liable to create that structure out of something which is perhaps initially thought to be opaque or impenetrable. In this case, the sentence, which, let me see if I can say it. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. So, for those who can't follow as easily as we may be able to, let me parse it a little bit. I have a good friend who lives in Angola, New York, and Angola is near Buffalo, New York. If you go to Buffalo, there are statues of bison or buffalo all over the place. I don't know if there were ever any buffalo there or if the herds got that far east. But at any rate, that's the kind of buffalo we're talking about. And it's also the place we're talking about, Buffalo, New York. So Buffalo, Buffalo would be Buffalo from Buffalo, New York. That has to be clear. Buffalo, Buffalo. What do they do? That is, these buffalo from Buffalo, New York, are the subject of the sentence. Where is the verb? The verb is the next word, and the next word is buffalo. To buffalo someone is to cheat them or to bullshit them or fool them in some way. I'm not going to let you buffalo me. That's the idea. I don't know if you're familiar with the usage, but I assure you it exists. So these buffalo from Buffalo, New York, buffalo others. What others? Well, they buffalo other buffalo from Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. That should be fairly clear. But what buffalo in Buffalo, New York, do they buffalo? The answer comes in the last two words, which are buffalo, buffalo. That is to say, buffalo from Buffalo, New York, buffalo or cheat or scam, other buffalo from Buffalo, New York, who are the kind of buffalo that buffalo. That is, the kind susceptible to this process of buffaloing or cheating. The sentence once again: buffalo, 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 buffalo. Remember, in a sentence, one does not need to include every part of grammar because some is understood and inherent. Just as if you want a cup of coffee, you can say, "Would you hand me a cup?" But what you mean is, "Will you hand me a cup with coffee in it?" I hope this was entertaining enough to take up our time. And thank you for that. Let's see. Here is a poem. Before the blaze of 40 fires, giant grim doth sit, roasting a woolly mountain sheep upon an iron spit. Above him wheel the western stars. Below him, fathoms deep and hidden in the valley mists, the village lies asleep. Save for one restless, wakeful dog who, snuffing toward the light, smells Grimm's broiled dinner and beholds his watchfires shining bright.
Very good, Dr. Hal, and that will be winging its way to you in a very short period of time.
That's very good. I only have a short period of time.
We'll make sure that it finds you.
Mm.
Money can do that these days. It knows who you are.
Good to have it to rely on. That other financial difficulty I had may be resolved after I come back from my trip.
Most excellent. Well, in any event, I have some questions here for you. Let me look at our question queue. Let me give those wheels a spin here. Let me see what we got coming in.
That's a good idea.
All right.
Spinning your wheels.
I have a question here from our very good friend, Reverend Ramulak. It is a $10 question.
Uh-huh.
And how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood be measured in imperial or metric units?
That would be the choice of the measurer. We are still largely in the imperial system in this country. But in order to speak of the amount of wood chips or wood in metric configuration would require the smaller figures. Say a woodchuck is not a large animal. A woodchuck, as a matter of fact, is the same as a groundhog, genus Marmotus, species Monax, and their forelimbs are not made for chucking wood, but for digging, and if anything, for throwing wood chips behind it. But throwing wood chips behind it is a form of chucking, is it not? So whether we speak of ounces or grams, that would be the way we could determine the answer if we were able to put it into experimental practice and see from the piles behind the burrowing animal, and such creatures have a lot of nervous energy to burn when not in a lethargic state, that would be susceptible to measure. But it could be that idea of knocking wooden detritus behind it is not the chucking meant by the creator of the apothegm. In other words, a true chuck would be throwing the wood pieces before it. And the answer to that would be more or less 0 with some slight variation. No, it would have to be whatever the animal knocks behind it. I once wrote a monograph on this subject called Coordinated Casting Motions in Marmotus Monax. I don't know where to access this today, but I would say that if you want to be strictly scientific in this or anything, the scientific community respects the meters and the liters and those things more than quarts and inches.
Very good, Dr. Hal. Well, we have our second monster movie moment. And this one is one that's very interesting and one I hadn't seen in a long, long time.
It's interesting how edifying these things really are if you give them a chance.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and this one is comedy. It's a little painful in some good ways. It's definitely Bulldada.
Another view of the prehistoric world.
And this is one that, some more fundamentalist groups can get behind because, it's got that Flintstone scenario going on.
Well, it's filtered through legend. But I mentioned that the tiny men who are unscientifically called hobbits did have to hunt and deal with the giant lizard, Megalania prisca. So there's perhaps some minor truth in part of this scenario. Anyway, let's go to that clip now.
Indeed, Dr. Hal. Audience, get those questions in. Come on. Geez, Sue, this is the Ask Dr. Hal show. Without those questions, we're just Dr. Hal. Come on. It's that simple. Get those questions in, a couple of bucks, and everybody's happy. So, Dr. Hal, here comes the second monster movie moment. Audience, get those questions in and enjoy the monster movie moment. Sorry.
Here I am.
Peekaboo!
Popping back in.
You caught me looking for a bit of information, and I thought, well,
Did you find it?
Glitch. Well, of course. I know where everything is.
Well, that's good.
I know where the bodies are buried, Dr. Hal. That's my church secret.
Last shot, as I said before, is reminiscent of the beginning of Werner Herzog's dinosaur movie, Dinotasia. You recall where there's a dinosaur that bays at the moon at night. Anyway.
That's the one where the little guy gets his head chewed off, which is
yes, it's disturbing another dinosaur which is trying to sleep, which wearily gets up and it goes off and the baying stops and the dinosaur comes back and lies down, and then you see the one that bayed at the moon running by with no head, having been successfully stopped from its annoying noise.
That will do it.
Yeah, maybe we'll show that one sometime.
Yes. Yeah, I want to say that we did do a clip of that at some point, but that Dr. Hal...
We showed the one of the sauropod dinosaur that ate psychedelic mushrooms and had what may be called a bad trip when attacked by two small carnivorous dinosaurs.
Why does that always happen?
Yeah, another intriguing excerpt from the movie.
Why every time a person uses hallucinogenics does that sort of thing happen? Why?
Something weird can happen to challenge your use of the special god food. And I could go into an anecdote here, but now perhaps is not the time.
Well, I do have questions. We do have time for questions. Audience, get those questions in. We have time for questions. Questions are like Jell-O. There's always room for questions.
And they quiver and shake also.
Well, anyway, I have a question from Reverend Gofflin. Gofflin tossed one into the queue today. It is a what is your favorite question, which I always love to hear these. It's for $5. And Dr. Hal, what is your favorite fictional depiction of an alien from film or TV?
From film or TV, eh? I choose the Selenites from The First Men in the Moon as aliens that are so good that they pass by everybody's attention. The insect-like lunar inhabitants who live in the hollow interior of our satellite, but who have specialized forms that come out during the daylight hours. Anyway, I like those aliens, and I was always so pleased to see them on the screen. I am less enamored of Carlo Rambaldi's E.T. and other things which are so puppet-like as to make me impatient with them. An alien always has to be, when presented its own self-motivation and not apparently manipulated from somewhere off screen. That is to be a really good one. Of course, the stop-motion aliens in First Men in the Moon are acted performances by Ray Harryhausen, like all the rest of his special effects. I hope that answer is okay. Do you have a favorite alien on screen, Pressure?
I would have to say the creature from the John Carpenter's The Thing.
Ah, yes. It's, of course, not, you never see what the original shape of it is like, since it is reproductive and imitative,
No, it's
putting
horrifying.
what's on hand. But yeah, that's certainly one to reckon with.
Yeah, and it's like one of the last of the like true in-camera effect, rubber monster movies. Bob Botten did an amazing job in that movie with.
Well, there's a stop motion in there. Of course, the H.R. Giger alien is a great figure, unlike any other, and deserves a certain respect. But you said aliens, plural, and usually we only see one of those on screen, though there have been exceptions.
Well, and The Thing really is one creature. It's more,
Yes.
more like a hive mind kind of
In the
thing.
first version of the story, it looked like James Arness, but it could look like whatever it wanted.
Boy, but John Carpenter changed our mind about that, didn't he?
Did you ever read the original story it was based on, called
Who
Who Goes
Goes
There?
There? Yes.
Not John Carpenter, by John Campbell, John
Campbell.
W. Campbell.
Yep, Who
Yeah.
Goes There by John Campbell. Yeah, wonderful bit of fiction.
Another one
Marvelous
which
stuff.
I've always confused it with is called In Amundson's Tent. I don't know if you know that one. It was printed in the old Weird Tales magazine, where there's a horrible alien monster which just to see kind of unhinges your mind. And this monster eventually comes and gets you, just like our time gets us when we're going to run out. So let's continue the show.
Oh, well, the Lovecraftian creatures too, I find compelling.
Yes, they are. They are more compelling than they might at first seem with their description. Most interesting is the description of the body of Wilbur Whately in the Dunwich horror, a creature which is grotesquely alien and yet is half human, since it was sired on a human mother by a completely unhuman, unearthly being that is called Yog Sothoth. Well, back to the books for that one.
Well, but I do have another question in the queue.
That's good.
This is an $11 question, Dr. Hal, and it is from our friend Duckman Do. I do believe we've gotten questions before from Duckman Do. So we'll call Duckman Do an old friend of the show. Let me see. Even if we concede that monemes of consciousness might be fundamental building blocks of the conscious universe, how can we go from that to full consciousness beings such as ourselves, or perhaps to aggregates of even greater organized awareness?
An interesting question. What was that word? Monemes, did you say?
Yes, monemes. It's a not word I'm familiar with. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's
well, it could be like memes or something, or monad memes or something.
Yeah, monemes. Monemes.
Yes, that's what I thought. And if you could just say the last line of the question one more time.
Of course. How about if I read the whole thing?
All right, fine.
Even if we concede that monemes of consciousness might be fundamental building blocks of conscious universe, how can we go from that to full conscious beings such as ourselves, or perhaps to aggregates of even greater organized awareness?
All right. Well, we are speaking of consciousness, and what consciousness is it that we're speaking about? Are we talking about the conscious mind and its concept of the self? The self is what everything happens to and what every person is. But there is a greater consciousness, a consciousness which is within that person. All the part of the human brain which is not that point of consciousness, the self-identifying part, located, according to some, in the anterior frontal gyrus of the brain. The rest of the brain also maintains a consciousness which does not penetrate through to the part which is self-identifying. And indeed, as I've said on other occasions, this point of consciousness sometimes suppresses the solution to the problem that the entire person is searching for, because the chatter of the point of consciousness blocks out the answer, which the rest of the brain has already prepared, and it takes a change of subject for the answer to float up from the non-overtly conscious part of the brain and be received by the conscious part. Consciousness in that sense, the sense of sentience without sapience, if I may make that decision, whatever, is a characteristic of all animal life, and it could be plant life too, as far as we know. The generalized awareness which keeps things together, and in that sense, they are building blocks. But when we consider human consciousness, we consider that awareness augmented by the point of consciousness, which some people have believed that only humans have. This is not my belief. I believe that many creatures have some version of it which suits themselves. So, as in the latter part of this question, these minds, these conscious points, can be placed together to create another level of awareness. With some apologies, I'll say that is what we already do with our creation of writing, notating, books, now computers and the digital world. They bring these sources together. And if such is intended and it's part of the progress of the universe, there's no reason that this construction and linkage may be greatly exceeded beyond what we are able to conceive at the present time. I would say I wouldn't rule out the possibility, as long as we don't allow our other impulses to get in the way and block it permanently.
Very good, Dr. Hal. I have a question that came in through our chat queue. And let me go ahead and dig it up here. It just, there it is. Glad I highlighted it. And this is a $15 question. It came through our good friend, Reverend John Shirley. And it says, here's a question for Hal from Mickey. She's giving $15.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Could some of the airplanes and jets in the air be alien spacecraft in disguise so they can watch us without our knowing?
Well, nothing's beyond those crafty aliens, and it would make sense to follow nature, in which one creature, occasionally for its own benefit, pretends to be another creature for purposes of concealment or for attack or for confusing possible predators. And as I have said, I wouldn't put it past the aliens to be involved in such a clandestine business, but let's say that it's a very suspicious mind that would conceive of that. And that is a human characteristic, perhaps not an alien characteristic. Aliens might be more direct, or they might be so less direct that we never can sense them at all, which would be a perfect disguise. If they are up there as nuts and bolts aircraft, airfoils, heavier than air, jets, rockets, helicopters, they would be detectable by our ground-based equipment. So not really concealed, and proposing an enigma, a puzzle, which would have to be solved. This works against the idea of concealment. Would it not be better for these clandestine observers of the humans, assuming we're worth observing in the first place, to imitate a cloud or a flock of birds or something like that? Since they're clever enough to get here from unthinkably far away, perhaps they would be able to do that, or simply to render themselves invisible, not only to our eyes, but to all our vaunted devices. Still, it seems like an ideal way to walk among the unwary, to look like something which is commonly seen and be dismissed as that. For the purpose of creating an interesting, imaginative fiction, I would say that could be the basis of an intriguing story or two. And how interesting for you that you've come up with the idea and may be the one who gets to exploit it. How many dollars did you say came with this one? It was more than 10, right?
Yes, Hal. It was a $15 question.
Crossing the Bar by Tennyson. Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and let there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. For such a tide as moving seems asleep, too rich for sound or foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that, the dark. And may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out this bourne of time and place the tides shall bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar.
Very good, Dr. Hal. I am going to get the chat, the after show chat link out to the audience. So audience, here it is coming out in the chat right now. There it is. That is the link.
Audience chat link, eh?
Yes, the after show chat audience. Come on out, say hello.
Can they access the chat while they're watching the show?
No.
No, okay. That's an internal stuff, just for us. I understand.
Just right wondering. Now, we're occupying the channel that the chat would be on.
Yes, occupy the Ask Dr. Hal show. So, yes. It was inevitable.
So yes. We're once we're out, we can bring them in.
Right.
And then we can join.
All inclusive. Just so.
Whoa. Anyway, it's actually a bit of a complicated arrangement to do some of these things, but we've managed to navigate it. We've figured out how to usually.
This is our method, our way.
Well, yes, it won't break into song here. Let me see. Let me go back to our Ko-fi queue. I'm going to give it a spin here. I know I've got a question here for you. Okay, I have a $3 question, Dr. Hal, from our very good friend Jellyfoot. Hey, Jellyfoot.
All right.
Let me see. Let me open it up here. Dr. Hal, I'm a big fan of obscure cryptids. What is your favorite obscure cryptid, and could it win a fight against a hybrid gorilla, great white shark, grizzly mutant combination? And if it could not, then would they be friends? Your pal, Reverend Jellyfoot.
Intriguing to speculate whether cryptid species might all be friends, all on the same level, knowing each other's existence, but unwilling to make themselves known to the humans. And there are all sorts of cryptids listed. In North America, there are quite a large number, more than many people may be aware. For example, the Loveland frogmen of Ohio. From Ohio, also, we got the giant snapping turtle with certain modifications called Old Sequaw that inhabited or inhabits the quite deep pond at Wisteria. I'm going to put that one forward as my favorite, especially as modified by the ruminations of Reverend Baby Bear and others. She gave the creature a tail with a bone club on it. This is formidable weaponry, as well as the heavy shell and particularly the giant forceful beak with its biting range. So Old Sequaw might be protected from attacks by part shark or whatever you have. It is, after all, a chelonian of great size, weight, and age. Of course, there are lake monsters, but we don't know about their bodies, about whether their strategy might be simply self-protection or disguise, and less likely to be a form of aggressive weaponry. So that one, which I have had occasion to write about in the past, that is the giant snapping turtle, would get my vote. As far as the most famous of all cryptid species, following the Loch Ness Monster, that would be Bigfoot, as some call him, Sasquatch. I was reading in Annals of the Old West about an Indian, a Native American named Bigfoot, whose sandals were 14 inches long. That is pretty big. But the Sasquatch is known for its larger-than-life feet. If the Sasquatch is a variation of the prehistoric giant ape or giant man, there is some blurring between the two in this case, then the current place where it lives, Tibet, was closer at one time because of the land bridge between Asia and North America, now represented by the Aleutian Islands, at a time when ice was out and the water levels were lower, for this particular cryptid to come and inhabit our Pacific Northwest, where indeed it is supposed to live. Anyway, back to that giant turtle. Even a smaller snapping turtle is a formidable thing, and that pond is inhabited by 60-pounder snapping turtles that everyone has seen. One doesn't wish to dispute their territory, and of course it has even been speculated that these are not giant adult turtles, but the progeny of Old Sequaw, which would make it, or rather her, a female of its species.
Good answer. Well, Dr. Hal, you know what? You've got a special recitation that you wanted to do, so I'm going to say let's go ahead and do that. And we've got a couple other, pitches for some friendly things that are of interest to our audience.
Yes.
And we will be right back where we're going to spin the wheels one more time. Audience, now is a good time to get those questions in. So bring it on. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Dr. Hal, we'll see you then.
All right.
hand!
Please be sure to join us for an all-new live Ask Dr. Hal Show Home Edition, December 21st, 2025, only on Twitch. Please visit our website at AskDrHalShow.com for information on where to find this and previous episodes. The Winter Solstice and Dr. Hal, a truly rare alignment.
In this poem, Coleridge refers to a folk belief or superstition of his time, that if one looked into a fire and saw a blue flame at the edge, this symbolized the arrival of a stranger who would soon appear. Frost at midnight. The frost performs its secret ministries, unhelped by any wind. The owlet's cry came loud, and hark again, loud as before. The inmates of my cottage all at rest have left me to that solitude which suits abstruser musings, save that at my side my cradled infant slumbers peacefully. 'Tis calm, so calm indeed that it disturbs and vexes meditation with its strange and extreme silentness. Sea, hill, and wood, this populous village, sea and hill and wood, with all the numberless goings-on of life, inaudible as dreams. The thin blue flame lies on my low-burnt fire, and quivers not. Only that film which fluttered on the grate still flutters there, the sole unquiet thing. Methinks this motion in this hush of nature gives it dim sympathies with me who live, making it a companionable form, whose puny flaps and freaks the idling spirit of its own moods interprets, everywhere, echo or mirror, seeking of itself, and makes a toy of thought. But oh, how oft at school, with most believing mind, presageful, have I gazed upon the bars to watch that fluttering stranger, and as oft, with unclosed lids, already had I dreamt of my sweet birthplace, and the old church tower, whose bells, the poor man's only music, rang from morn till evening all the hot, fair day, so sweetly that they stirred and haunted me with a wild pleasure, falling on mine ears most like articulate sounds of things to come. And so I brooded all the following morn, awed by the stern preceptor's face, mine eye fixed with mock study on my swimming book, save that the door half opened, and I snatched a hasty glance, and still my heart leaped up, for still I hoped to see the stranger's face, townsman or aunt or sister more beloved, my playmate, when we both were clothed alike. Dear babe, that sleepest cradled by my side, whose gentle breathings heard in this deep calm fill up the interspersed vacancies and momentary pauses of the thought. My babe, so beautiful. It thrills my heart with tender gladness thus to look at thee, and think that thou shalt learn far other lore, and in far other scenes, where I was reared in the great city, pent mid cloisters dim, and saw naught lovely but the sky and stars. But thou, my babe, shalt wander like a breeze by lakes and sandy shores, beneath the crags of ancient mountains, and beneath the clouds, which image in their bulk both lakes and seas and mountain crags. So shalt thou see and hear the lovely shapes and forms intelligible of that eternal language which thy God utters, who from eternity doth teach himself in all, and all things in himself. Great universal teacher, he shall mold thy spirit, and by giving make it ask. Therefore all seasons shall be sweet to thee, whether the summer clothe the general earth with greenness, or the red-breast sit and sing betwixt the tufts of snow upon the bare branch of mossy apple-tree, while the nigh thatch smokes in the sun-thaw, whether the eavesdrops fall, heard only in the trances of the blast, or if the secret ministries of frost will hang them up in silent icicles, quietly shining to the quiet moon.
And we're back.
I meant to say ministry, but I said ministries, but I think the meaning is still clear.
It's communication. We're communicating, Dr. Hal.
Well, every time you do a recitation, you have a chance to do it right, or, they vary. That's the nice thing about doing it more than once.
Professor Gofflin, I think, commented on the little interstitial just now. She said, strange and upsetting. I love it.
We aim to please.
That's us, strange and upsetting. What are your greatest attributes? Well, I think I'm strange and upsetting.
Yes.
I should go back to interview, for jobs, just so I could say things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think your greatest attributes are? Well, most people find me strange and upsetting.
You're hired. What would
Right?
you do then?
Oh,
yeah.
You're management material.
Yeah, right.
Let me see, Dr. Hal. I'm gonna roll that beautiful bean footage here. Let me see what we have.
The wheel. Pull the string.
I think I've given you the last question, Dr. Hal.
Last question. Very well. Well, we answered some tonight.
All good things. If somebody wants to sneak one in under the wire, I'll give it let me give it another spin, because I'm superstitious.
Or you could come to the after show thing and see if you could ask something there. Although generally we don't encourage that. We like to talk about what we have done, though. Maybe clarifying.
Well, actually, the after show chat, it gives other people the opportunity to chime in, not just Dr. Hal. So it's more of a conversation.
Exactly. Like the side note that we used to have in our live nightclub show, where we invited the audience, to make further commentary.
Right. We did get some commentary back, and I did not point it out to you, about the meaning of that word that was used as a unit of measure for consciousness, I do believe, for the one question.
It was meme something.
Moneme.
Yes, that would be a single meme.
Yeah.
Interesting expression. I never heard of it, but it's easy to understand.
Monad I've heard of, but that's a new one.
That is one. Once again, the singularity of the one is expressed. One entity is a monad.
I wonder what
Moni?
monad's gonad looks like.
Well, like one single one.
And if the monad made a gonad that was so big that he couldn't move it.
We have a terrible case of elephantiasis of the testicles, as seen in Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine.
Folks, on that note, we're going to roll our credits. Please stand
I'm glad
by.
we don't have an illustration of that. It's a very disturbing picture.
They're worthwhile.
Yes.
And after show chat, so give us a couple minutes. It takes us a minute to set up and do all the things that, we waited to do until the end of the show. So,
and if you're curious about anything which we have presented, you should watch our credits, which are about to be displayed.
Yes, watch the credits because they are worthwhile. They say things. There's subliminal messages there that are important.
That's why we put them there, just for you.
All right, folks, see you next month, December 21st, winter solstice.
That's right.
It will be our holiday show.
Our 55th show.
Oh, and I guess we should say happy Thanksgiving to everyone, too, while we're...
Yes. Well, I hope to have one, and my birthday is in there the day after, I think, or is it the day before? I'm taking a little trip to the East Coast, but I'll be back certainly before the 21st of December.
And I should mention, too, Dr. Hal likes licorice.
Oh, of course. Either
money.
You like it or not. I've been reading about people who don't like licorice, don't like root beer, don't like all these flavors. All they like is sugar, but not with any herbal flavor of any kind.
Yeah. I live for that kind of stuff.
Moi aussi.
But yes, Dr. Hal likes licorice and money. So if you're not sure what to send him for his birthday,
well, they made
okay.
Licorice of various types illegal in California in their episode of do-gooding, and so if I try to order, say, licorice caramels from a catalog, I get a little note saying, sorry, unable to send them to your area because of your Proposition 64. So stay away from my candy, you nanny state natterers and no goods. That is of no help to my current predicament.
So do crime and send Hal contraband for his birthday.
It's no crime for an individual to send me such stuff, only for it to be sent by a commercial entity and sold to someone who's a resident of this state. Yes, California isn't perfect, but it does have a lot of advantages.
Know that you're pissing off the nanny state.
Yes, or would if they deigned to notice what you're doing.
Doesn't that feel good? Anyway, folks, we'll see you on December 21st. Watch the credits and have a great month, and we'll see you in the after show chat. So come on over.
Slack.
Take care, y'all.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.